Okay, today I'm going to give a brief overview of how to get Oracle Virtual Machine, VirtualBox, and Windows Server on your computer so that you can start up your own lab at home and start getting some experience with Windows Server and Active Directory and Server Manager. So the first thing you're going to need is the Oracle VM VirtualBox, which is completely free. Virtual machines can be a little intimidating, and you will need to make some adjustments to your BIOS so that you can enable virtual machine virtualization. But you want to go to this place right here, virtualbox.org, go to Downloads, and pick up the client that is for your specific machine. For the server ISO, if you were running VMware, I can't remember the name of the service. I should have wrote it down, but you could download the virtual hard disk, which is this setting right here that I'm circling with my mouse, which will allow you to just have a set up virtual machine that you can automatically run. But for this example, we're just going to do the download the ISO. So when you go for the download the ISO, it's going to ask you to input your information. I've already done that, but it's just a brief survey of your information. You can put in almost anything you want. It's not going to email you. They're not going to solicit you. But you'll end up on this page right here. And what you want to choose is this right here, the 64-bit edition ISO download. And once that's complete, I believe it's about 5 gigabytes. That's when you want to go ahead and open up your Oracle virtual machine. And these are all the setups here, and I can do another video if anyone wants me to kind of go over some of the basics of setting up your virtual machines. I have a few already on here. I run Kali Linux, Ubuntu, a Windows 7 client that I kind of play around with, and there's my server that I've already installed. So what you want to do is start with New. Now you're going to be tempted to click this ISO right here and select the ISO that you've downloaded. That is not going to work. It's going to crash every time, saying that it cannot find the security codes and whatnot. So you're just going to name it Server 2019 or whatever you want to call it. Make sure that they know it's the Microsoft and Windows type, and I chose other 64-bit and next. And since it's a server, it's going to be pretty hefty. I went with 16 gigs of RAM, which is really kind of minimum, considering my machine needs to have about 64 gigs, which I'm going to upgrade soon. 16 is the minimum that will run on this. So if you remember your bytes and what they're worth, it's 1024 megabytes to a gigabyte. Multiply that by 16, you get 16,384. VM VirtualBox is pretty good about adjusting to that level for you. I chose 4 CPU cores for this one. Whoops, that's 5 for 6. I allocated just 100 gigabytes. You really don't need much more than that. And then you hit finish. So now you have this powered off machine, and you're going to need to set up Windows on it. So what you're going to do is go into the settings for it, come down to storage. I like to change the hard disk drive to solid state virtualized, so that way it's a little quicker, especially since I'm running a solid state M2 drive on this. And then select the empty CD drive. Now what you want to do here is click the CD off to the side here, and then select your ISO that you downloaded. Now when you start this, it's going to be like starting a brand new computer with the first selected media as your disk drive, your optical drive, and it's going to go into auto boot for installing server. And then just go ahead and start it. And it's going to power up and go load the files and go through everything. Now sometimes you will get a blue screen because I am running it on bare minimum settings. You may get a little blue screen within your virtual machine, and it's just a watchdog. It's nothing terrible. It just hung. Restart it and let it go through the processes. But this is how you set it up, and once you can really just kind of step away from it at this point and let it go through. It is going to give you the option to choose Windows Server without a graphical interface and one with. I like to choose the second setting, which is with a graphical interface. That might be what's popping up now. Yeah. So just going to next. Install now. This is where it can crash on you. I'm going to cut this short here. I'm not trying to make this a 10-minute video. But once it's kind of run through all the processes of installing after you've done the graphical interface, the first thing it's going to ask you is to set up an administrative password. Here we go. So the first setting is, without, graphical environment. The next step is with. Then you have your data center installations with and without a graphical environment. Like I said, I like to choose the second option with the graphical desktop experience. Hit next. It will begin to install, and it's a lengthy process. It took about 30-45 minutes for it to completely install on my system here. And once that's done, you just choose your administrative password and log in, and my next video will be on some of that.